How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Gaming Time 123. Today we're going to look at another one of the custom decks which I have made. This one we're doing is all artifacts, and basically the object of this deck will be to play color spells for free. That's it. As you can see, the currency in the 28 commons, 19 commons, 11, 17 rares, and 11 mythics. They're all colorless except for 3 cards. 3 cards in the deck are colorless, but they have all the cards that are gold are devoided. And you guys let me know what you think about these cards. Where you think they would be really good, it would be a really good deck, or a deck. Eventually, I'll plan to get this deck. All right, first deck, and this is potentially trying to be a commander deck. And it's a commander deck that I'll make all the lands for too. So you'll see the land thing here. Card facts. When you +1 it, you create an artifact that says spells cost 1 less on your turn, which is ridiculous. It costs 7, so it's ridiculous. It's really hard to play. But thinking this way, this is would be crazy as a commander. Just looking at for that, because after, let's say, 7 turns, your card, basically every spell you're going to be free, and other things make it free as well. So this card could be ridiculous commander, and a bad thing is also you can make it +4. And then they said non-creature spells are cost 3 less. It's already going to be very difficult to make this commander because it does cost a lot to get it back into the field. But there's a way to do it, and we'll see it later in this as well. Next card is called Baby Exists. It's a 1-cost card, and if it has 3 more counters, it has flying, and loses all their abilities. So basically, regularly you can tap it for 1 colorless, but if you have 3 more counters, it has flying, and that's it. So, in some context, it could be a really good early game card, but it may not be as good late game card, and it's probably okay in the late game in the context if someone has a bunch of flyers in their deck. But it potentially is not going to do much for you. That's why would be a common. Next up, guys, Winged Snake. It's another artifact. It costs 2. It's 2/1 with flying. Not really much to say about this card. It's just an artifact creature, and you can see all these cards will be artifact creatures, most likely. I think there's a few cards that aren't, but there are some that are. We got Winged Lion, which is a 4/2 with flying with 4/4, and that's probably average. It's a cat with flying. That's basically it for that one. Sword of Art. This is the first artifact equip it card. It gives a creature +2/+2, and you can equip it for 0, which makes it ridiculous. Cost 1 for 2, and you equip it for 0. You can only do it once per turn, and that's as a sorcery. Honestly, this card could be a higher rating, or I should say probably. I would say either could be potentially be as just even could be as minimum as high as a rare, not just being. So this card may be a little bit overpowered for being a common. That's just my opinion. And by the way, I do plan to stream several times today. I believe I have. Let me check how many I've got today. Okay, I have 2 other streams today that I'm planning to do. The next one will be Balance School, and that will be right after this stream. Will be at 2:30. Then the next one will be until 10 o'clock tonight. Yes, we got Temple of Pain. So artifact can add 1 mana. It's rare, but you can pay spells by paying 1 life for each one. So basically, you can play your spells for free. Well, your health. So basically, if you had 20, most commander names, you start with 40 life, correct? So basically you play your commander on turn 1. So that would be the reason you might want to use Cat of Artifacts, because Cat of Artifacts cost 7, and you already have plenty of ways to do it. It's a much bigger advantage for you, which is why it would definitely be at least a rare. It might even be a mythic in some cases. If any of these cards you think might be of a lower rating or a higher rating, this one, then go ahead. For example, if you think this should be a mythic, say we'll play mythic. I can change certain things on it. There's certain cards I can't change, like for example, Planeswalker. I can't change that. It's already a mythic, anyways. I don't think it can't go any higher. The next card we got Wolfbound Artifact. It is a trample. Yeah, it's trample, and I can tap it to create colorless X-Men, which is colorless mana to your mana pool, where X is your life for your losses turn. So if you pay for your 9 for your commander that's in there for 9, and you've lost 9 life, you can add 9 mana. So it gives you basically your mana in addition to it. Of course, it doesn't have haste or anything like that, so it's just obedience. I think uncommon is probably the right context for this one. I don't think it's too powerful, because you do actually have to lose life in order to use it. The next one we got here, Pot of Artifacts. 6 costs. Spells you cast cost 1 less. So everything's reduced by 1. And you can pay 1 to add 1 mana to any miracle. Uncommons probably might even be low. But I honestly don't know of many legendary artifacts that are common. So I had to think about what I was going to do with that. I think that was probably the right context for it. It's a decent card, and it's probably really good with an artifact deck, which is what this entire deck is based off of. This I can't. No. Okay, so this is a card I created a while back. I think I may have seen it shown in another video somewhere along the way. Equipped creatures +3/+3. If equipped creature is blocked by 2 or more creatures, it gets +2/+2 for each creature blocking it. And so, for example, if your creature has Menace, then it actually is +2/+2 if you equipped it. It does cost 9 to equip, which is already hard enough to do. But it's a huge card if you had it. Now, it's a 0 cost card, so you can play it. It's difficult to equip because it does cost 9 to equip, and there's no way to. And as far as I know, remember, there's no card that says equipped it for free. There are some cards in Magic that are not based, that have the ability to make your equipment cost as 1 instead, but since this is all graded, it doesn't make much of a difference. Definitely uncommon, at least it might be even rare. Change target. I also created this card rather recently, or I created this as a part of my life and death, and I did that one at some point. The ability is to change target after all other spells are cast, but before combat damage. So it is a specific place you have to put this. You change target of combat damage to another creature. So if your creature would die, you can change the combat damage and put it to someone else. Oh, my creature's a 1/1. And it has a really useful ability that allows me to add 1 mana. I can change it to another creature that wouldn't die, well, either wouldn't die or I just don't want that creature to die, so I'll keep it. I will change it. I didn't mean to do it like this, but that's the basic idea. I think honestly it's not a bad card for us, and common is probably the right card for this. Right, rarity for this. Hidden weapon. Could be misworded, honestly. Probably it's. I place 2 when we counter a target creature. It's common. There's really not. I don't know. It's not good enough to be uncommon in my opinion. Here, it's not. It's like it's probably in the higher level of commons. So I would say it's just very good. It is a sorcery, so you only cast it on your turn, unless you have something that gives you everything. I don't think there's anything that says. No, I got Chasing of Trees. I got 2 favorites. This is a weird why though. A destroy target creature fire. This is awful. This is an awful card. Destroy target creature of 5 or less toughness. I mean, it's not. It will be. It's useful, but the problem is, in this deck, you might never have the ability to do that. It's the context is just. It's not great. You start something that has 5 or less toughness. Well, if you can reduce it down. But, like, in the deck I originally intended this for, it was absolutely useless. Because the deck was of creatures that had at least 5 toughness. And it could have been more than that. It's not a terrible card. It's useful for the artifact deck. And it's colorless, so. Yes. But it's not one of the cards I would say, yeah, it's worth to have higher than a common. Next card we got Warrior Hawk. I think I created this. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I created this originally for the possibility of being a commander. It could also be a commander. It's a bird warrior. It's a legendary artifact creature. And it costs 0. There's a reason that it's 0. It's not good. You can pay 2 to draw a card. It only has a 2/1. But it does have recast, which means you can pay 2 mana to put it back onto the fields. And a commander, you know what happens normally. If a card is put in it costs 2 more mana. It already costs 2 mana if it goes to the graveyard, so yes. There's actually no reason, if this creature dies, to put this back into your combat zone, because you can recast it. And it will be cheaper every time, because regularly, if you do commander after the second, if it's first time it dies, it's 2 cost. The second time it dies, it goes to 4. Well, it's now 2 for the first time, 3 for the second, 4 for the third. You can recast it in advance. It's not really that great of a creature, but it's not terrible for the context of the card. Lady. This is a dog. It's a 0-cost dog. It really doesn't do much. It's a dog. You could pay 1 to draw a card. And depending on how many cards you have in your hand, it gets plus. It's a 1/1. So if you have 1 card in your hand, it's a 1/1. But here is the problem. I do not think these cards are very good, which I think honestly means this card probably should not be a rare. If it had a card that says no maximum hand size, then it's great. But the problem is, the problem whenever I have the problem, I always seem to run out of cards in my hand, which means this creature's dead. Sure, it could be an infinite creature, theoretically. Okay, commanders on average 100 cards, so if you happen to draw 99 cards, it's a 9898 creature, you lose next turn, but whatever. It can be powerful, which is why I think I eventually originally placed it as 0, and it does cost 0 regularly, so it could be a common, I guess. It's not gonna be a mythic. Let's see. White Wolf, first strike. It's cost 3, White Wolf for first strike. It's 2/2, it's common. I think it's reasonable. On average, artifacts I have regularly are generally that side here, so I think it's reasonable for it to be a White Wolf, and it just has first strike. So not really much to say about that. God of Cat Wizard is a legendary artifact creature. It enters tapped. This is ridiculous, okay? You, the more mana you add to this means the more damage you do to target player. Would this be a great commander? Probably not, because it enters tapped, and although eventually if you will be able to win this, because if you have 5 mana, you're dealing 5 damage to target player every turn. I am sorry for any static. It seems to happen. My thing does my headphones do weird things at some points. So there might be a little bit of static every once in a while, but basically when this card does, you could potentially kill your opponent pretty weirdly. Because let's just say you have 20 mana. Theoretically, I'm exaggerating this. You tap it, deals 20 damage to your target opponent. Next turn, you win the game. That doesn't even have 20. You get 20 mana out. So this card probably is not going to be a good commander, but there's potential for it to be a commander. It is also already a 9/8, so it's huge. It doesn't enter tapped, so that's a disadvantage for it. Underpowered. Yeah, so you pay X, and pay creatures minus X minus X. This would be a card you would use just to destroy something. Or make it weaker, I guess. You could make it just weaker. Cat playing with yarn. Cat creature can't attack or block. I had to have some sort of way to do pacifism. Is that what it's called? Make a creature not attack or block. Can't still use his abilities. It just can't attack or block. Gotta have some way to defend this thing. That's why it's a common. Cat playing with yarn, though. University of Space. Okay, so I've recently put this in. I don't remember what kind of deck it was. But you destroy a creature. And if a creature is destroyed by a spell, you may create it as a negative 1/1 copy of that creature under your control, because it would. Yeah, but you put it so basically you would put this under your control. It really needs to kind of be edited. The wording is, if a creature would be destroyed by a spell, which does not include this. This is technically a spell, but spells would be in the context would be instants or sorceries or something that destroys something. Not in this case. So I have to look at the actual context of this, but I think this destroying it wouldn't actually trigger this. But assuming it does, it would be pretty good. You create a copy of creatures that your opponent would have destroyed, which means you could potentially be controlling a commander from them. I think. I have to look at the wording for the actual things for this. If the abilities work, then this is actually pretty powerful. If the abilities do not work in that way and it's a sorcery, it's still pretty good. Fox Hunter. You can give a card creature +1/+0 to end of turn and has vigilance. I don't know what else to say. It doesn't tap when it's attacking. It's a uncommon. It's a 3/2 for cost. Oh. Okay, so this has got destroy card creature with power 3 or less for 2. Or you can pay 5 and destroy any creature. This is destroy card creature. That's it. There's not much to say that. You just store something that's power 3 or less, and normally, or you can just store something that's powerful for 5. Artifact Dragon, okay, flying and haste for 6. That doesn't do much. It just has flying and haste. It can attack on the first turn, and it costs 6. It's 5/5. Haunter's Claws, deal 3 damage to any target. Pay 1, deal 3 damage. And there are a lot of cards that do that same sort of thing in colored, so I figure this is probably a reasonable common. Mask of Glory. Okay, I put a few cards I call masks, which are just equipments. Equipped creature is -1/-1, and gains menace and vigilance. Equipped for 2. So your 3/3 creature is a 2/2 creature that has menace and vigilance. So it doesn't tap when it attacks, and it has to be blocked for 2 creatures, which does have some extra effects for certain other cards in this deck. Next one we got here is Mask of Greed. Creature gets -2/-1 against lifelink. So your powerful creature is now 2 power or less and has lifelink. Equipped for 3. Not great. It just wasn't weak enough. Ancient Tome. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, create a copy of a shaped creatures on player end. Anyone have an idea where this might be coming from? Well, the basic context is I could create it on my own creature and create a copy of my own creature, which means it's similar to Helm of the Host. Now, the Helm of the Host is a little different because you actually have to equip it to it, and you equip it correctly. But the Enchanted Finch also works on my other creatures, so I could put something. Yes. Now, I couldn't use a legendary creature. That's another thing. It can't be a legendary creature. But in this case, I could put an enchantment creature, so I now have 2 copies of that creature. Death or Artifact Dragon has Death Touch, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you must sacrifice a creature. This would be a reason why you might want to give it to your opponent. Because I believe there's a card that does this. But if you give it to the opponent, your opponent has to sacrifice a creature every turn. You have a powerful 6/7 creature, but you have to sacrifice something every turn to keep on the field. Actually, it's not a may. Destroy non-artifact creature, or pay 6 to destroy any creature. Yep. Fire Artifact Dog. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you would choose, or beginning of each turn, you would choose 2. I don't think there's any specific time we have to do this. This is actually not a great card, but it costs 3. But you have to choose 2. This is another card you might want to give to your opponent, if you could. I don't know what the context is, but here it is. Either you sacrifice 3 permanents, mill 3 cards, sacrifice 3 creatures, pay 3, or pay 3 life. Yeah, we're obsessed with 3 because it's 3 dogs. Yeah, really. Death Artifact Dog has the same sort of effect. At the beginning of each turn, you choose 1. Pay 3, pay 3, pay 3 life, pay 3, or each opponent draws 3 cards. That's why you would want to give this to your opponent. I don't have a card current. I don't know where the R cards are. Pay 2 life, and you add 3. Add 2, sorry. 2 colorless. 2 mana pool. Artifact of the Sea. At the beginning of your if you choose 1. It becomes a 0/2 creature. You can add 1 mana, or you can gain 3 life and discard a card. That's Shroud also. So, sorry. There's not much to do with that one. Book of Wisdom. Choose a card type. Then mill cards until the card of that type is revealed. Then place that card in your hand. Shuffle your graveyard into your deck. And it doesn't untap during an untap step. First off, you might say, this card is terrible. But there's a reason why it's good. You pay 1. You mill cards until you end. So let's just say that your opponent has a mill deck. Just for theoretical purposes. Oh man, you milled. I have like 3 cards left in my deck. I will choose an enchantment or a creature, whatever it is. Whatever you have the most of in your deck. What's left. Or maybe you scry 1, you know. Oh, okay. I will choose creature. It's a creature. I will reveal. Oh, it's a creature. I will now shuffle my entire graveyard into my deck. Well, guess what, buddy? You have to mill me again. It's a useful card to make sure if you are facing mill, it's not necessarily great. Or if you just want a certain card. And honestly, this card actually doesn't give you a card into your hand. So, it's actually not going to do much for you. You can just continuously shuffle. It's like, yeah, I don't want this card. I'll put it back on the top of my library. I will tap this to discard to choose a card type, creature, yada yada yada. You get the point. It goes on forever. You untap it, and you can basically never. You cannot lose the game with this card on the field. For a mill. Dancing Bird. This is a weird card. You may have seen those cards that basically change their advantage depending on after it's. But here's so first, you can pay 2 to make a 2/2 creature until end of turn. No, I'm right. Or you can pay 4 to take a 3/5 creature with flying. Or you can with 7 you can make a 7/7 creature with flying and vigilance. Or you can just keep it itself as a 1/1 creature. It's cost 1. All these are until end of turn, so it's only a 1-turn effect. This is probably should be a higher rating, but I couldn't put myself to actually make it a higher rating. Artifact Master. I think this is a legendary creature, right? Yeah, legendary artifact human. He gets +1/+1 for each artifact creature you control. This deck is artifact based, so basically all your artifacts are going to be huge. It's already a 1/1. Plus you can pay 2 to get it to make it at least 2/2, and it has Vigilance and First Strike off the bat. It's very powerful. Is it the most powerful card in this deck? No. We'll get to it eventually. But it's definitely, it can be a possible commander. Here's the 4/4 warrior with 4/4 warrior. It is supposed to be an artifact, by the way. I just didn't have the ability to make it an artifact creature. Artifact Beetle. 0 cost. At the start of your turn, create an egg token, which is pay 2, sacrifice it, add 3. It can't attack. It has flying. It has flying, but it can't attack. It doesn't really do much for this, but It can give you extra mana. Balanced Sword. Oh. So a lot of these cards that I made for this, I got off of Balanced Spells in Wizard 101. Equip creature's attack is increased by 1 for each combat for artifact if you pay this turn. So basically, it's a 0. It's plus 0. Plus, it gives your equipment plus 0 plus 0. But every artifact you play makes it more powerful. So the more artifacts you play gives it plus 1 plus 0 and so on. Theoretically, it could be good. Might not be very good though in the end. Equip for 2 is not very powerful though. Tome Wolf. Each artifact and creature in your graveyard has recast, where recast is the card's mana cost plus X. And this card itself is recast. To explain recast, you can play the card again, just like normal, but from your graveyard, and it's a recurring effect, but you have to pay 1 more for it, basically. For every time you do recast it. So this card costs 6 normally. If it was in my graveyard, it would cost 6 plus 1. Other than the fact it already has recast, so it doesn't matter. It would be 5 plus 1. That is the basic idea for these for recast. Recast is a really powerful effect, I believe, and there's some other cards. This creature might not be as powerful, but it gives everything else if it's on the field. So that's powerful. That's why I think I classify it as a rare. Artifact uniform. Oh my. Oh right, it's a commander. So basically, I started making these cards, and there's another set I'm doing. I'm working on making cards that are all possible commanders that I might do at some point with it. It costs 1 less for each artifact you control. The reason why it's like this is because I couldn't put, how do I say this? I couldn't put the symbol here, so it's like this. So it is 1 less for each artifact you control. You can plus 1 to put a 1/1 counter on target art or indestructible counter on target artifact. So make it undestroyable, or give it a 1/1 counter. Or you can destroy all non-land permanents that don't have a counter on it. What's going to happen, man? So basically, my Nice Mind ability is it will take a really long time just to get that up there, but it does have some pretty powerful effects, and it's possible to be a commander for it. It's not a commander. Artifact Dragon. Artifact Dragon gets lifelink, trample, vigilance, or double strike. You have to choose one of them. It gets -1/-1 until end of turn. There's a card that I based this off of that basically does the same thing. It's a 6/6 creature. Doesn't have flying, but it has thing, and you can give it. It's play 1, give it 1 of these, and -1. I don't recall what that card says. I don't know why I call this a common. I feel like it should be a higher rating. But for now, I'm not going back for changing this. One second. For some reason, I thought my car had started by itself. It was a plane. Basic things for this are you could make it weaker and give it some other ability. It already has flying, so it's huge. I think honestly, I probably think this is probably gonna be would be a higher rating normally. It does cost 8, but even then, it's pretty. It would be pretty big, a pretty good creature. Common might be a little bit of a low rating for it. Next card we got Revived Art. Okay. Oh, that's not that fun. Return a target artifact to the field tapped. You can pay if you pay and you pay 4 to put back onto the field. It becomes a 1/1 creature. I created this. It's called Instant Creature. In effect, it's actually 2 cards. Theoretically, here's what you do. First, you play it as an instant, or if it's in your graveyard, you can play it as a weakness card. Once it's in your graveyard, you can pay 4 to replay it as the creature. It is a creature that it's the spell's weakness. It's a 1/1 dragon with flying and double strike. This is probably a pretty interesting effect. I don't know where this will actually work or how the Wizards would actually do this if it was actually a card that's not currently. And if they try to do this, I might copyright them. No. Patented. No. I'm just patenting for anything right now. Mask of Truth. Here's another one of these masked cards. Oh, yeah. The Mask of Truth costs 20 minus the number of artifacts you control. So if you have 20 artifacts, it's a 0-cost card. It's indestructible, equipped for 1. Equipped creature has indestructible and gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So here's the deal. I have 20 artifacts in my field. It costs 0. I equipped it for 1. My creature's now +20/+20. And it's indestructible. Any problem with that? I think this card's ridiculous. And Mythic is definitely the right rank. If I can even make it a higher rating than that, yes, then it would be a higher rating for sure. Balance Art. It has the void, so it means it has no color. You can cast a legendary sorcery only if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker. Basically, it has to be a legendary card. Add 5 to your mana pool. Pay 2 to add 5. And you can only do this if it's legendary sorcery. So it's difficult to do this. But you add 5 mana to your mana pool so you can cast them for pretty cheap. Scarab. Okay, this is another one of those Wizard 1/1 cards. You have the ability to recast this. It's a beetle. It's a scarab. It has Death Touch. You recast it. That's it. Doesn't have any hidden effects. It's not good. Oh, I can recast it for 1/1. It's a Death Touch creature. Alright, Artifact Scorpion. Also based. These cards are all based off of the Wizard 1/1 cards. It's a vigilance, and you can add 1 white man or 1 colorless man to your mana pool. It's a 2/2 for 2. Lotus Swarm, also based off it. It can't be blocked. It's a 1/1 creature, though. If you want to go look at the battle scripts and see what these cards are based off of, you can look. You can go ahead and play for Wizard 1, and Wizard 1 will be done right after this as well. It's the Balance School, so you will see some of these cards being played. Sandstorm. Wonder where this comes from. This card was actually based off of a spell as well. In that it just didn't make any sense. Destroy all non-artifact creatures. Oh my gosh, I'm destroying everything. It costs 5, so it's not easy to cast. Next card we got is Artifact Power. Artifact spells cost 1 less than artifact creatures +1/+1, and it's indestructible. It's a 4/4 artifact creature that gives artifact cards cost 1 less, and they're +1/+1 as well. Guess what, buddy? This is not actually a 4/4. It's lying. It's actually a 5/5 because it says artifact creatures. It does not say other artifact creatures. It says artifact creatures. It still costs 6. So rare. I think it's a right rating for it. I don't think it makes any sense for it to be anything else. Donut power. Okay. You can. It's mythic. Each player gains 3 mana until end of turn. This mana can only use to cast power spells. So basically, if everyone else is playing a color spells, you're screwed with this card. But if you're the only one playing artifact spells or color spells, you will have a really good advantage. Pay 1 to get 3 mana. That's still why it's definitely why it's mythic. Spectacular Blast. Okay. So this card is colorless. I don't even know if actually could put this in my deck. I have to look at the rulings for this. Either I have to go back and make this voided. It's a colorless card by itself. But I don't know if because if these symbols are on here, that makes it those colors. I do not think it does. So theoretically, it is a devoid card. It just doesn't have the right. I just couldn't do anything else about it. You can make a white. You can destroy a white, blue, or red creature, or you can destroy one white, red, or blue spell, or you can non-artifact spell. If this card would be devoided if it's those colors. Otherwise, it's just it's a regular card. Artifact Hydra. Okay. Okay. This card is devoided. Because if it isn't, it would not be possibly a commander. And honestly, why would you... I'll pay 12 life to play my commander. But you have the ability, you have 5 different abilities. You pay 1. You can gain 3 life and discard a card. Pay a blue, draw a card. Pay a red, deal 3 damage to each target. Or pay a green to create 3 torture tokens, which can add 1 mana anyway, so you can just continuously use that. Or you can pay black to destroy a non-target artifact creature. You may not use each of the artifact abilities more than once per turn. So you can use all 5 of them, but you can only use each one of them once. This would be a ridiculous commander if you could do it. If you could actually use this as a commander. It is, by the way, a colorless card, so it would be colorless. And what's a trap? Chain creature can't attack, block, or use abilities controller or use abilities unless the creature's controller pays 3 for each ability used. Kill, can't attack, or block. That's an old trap. And there's based off of one card. Reshuffle. Another card that basically means that you can't. Reshuffle your deck and your graveyard into your library, then sacrifice reshuffle. Or you can reshuffle your deck and graveyard and all cards you control in the exile into your library. Sacrifice it. And it has a new effect that I've just created. You can cast a spell and use it as an instant at any time as long as you pay 2 life in addition to its mana cost. So you can pay 1 and 2 mana and just use its abilities and use it immediately as an instant. And that means these 3 and 5 don't actually trigger if you do it that way. You can play it any time, basically. It's flash, but it costs 2. Flash for 2 of 2 life. Extra life. I think I've only made 2 cards that have this effect. Elemental Blade. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and can be blocked by non-artifact creatures. Equipped for 5. I think it's fair to say it's definitely rare and legendary. Power Nova. Okay, so the basic thing is this is supposed to be I made this entire deck. There's only one card I can think of. I think it's called Waste. That is officially a basic land. This is a basic land. You add colors to your mana pool. That's it. So there will be probably 20 up to 40 of these if this becomes become a commander deck. Archangel Judgment. Deal X damage to any target. You pay 1 and then extra things. Yeah, cool. Doesn't really do anything else. Defuse. Counter target spell. It's an instant. And you can cast it to counter target spell. Doesn't really do much here. That was also based off a Wizard 1/1 spell, by the way. It's a little weird, though. Okay. Healing Art Gloves. You may have any number of Healing Art Gloves in your deck. Equipped creature you gain 2 life at the beginning of your upkeep. And it's +1/+0. I had to make it a mythic because you can have as many of them and it costs 0. And it does 2 other abilities. So you gain 2 life and your creature's +1/+0. That's it. I could see it maybe being a rare, but I just had to think it. I just had to think around it, and I think because you can have as many as you want, it's mythic. Steal life. Oh no. All right. First, I'm just going here down to the card combats here. This card is broken. Yeah, I know. I did this. There's a real reason why it's broken. Because once this card's on the field, the next turn you win the game. Practically. Because all you have to do is have your 4 lands. Because artifacts don't have tap limits in this. You pay 1 life, untap all your lands. So now you have, and let me just see if I can get a calculator up here just to give you an idea what's going on. Here's the calculator, okay? So on turn 1, you have your 4 mana. You've used your 4 mana. Alright, so now you have no mana remaining. But with this card, back to the thing, please. With this card, you can just make it 4 again. Now, you don't tap. You have those lands tapped, right? You just maybe pay 1 life. So let's say you've lost 2 life at this point. Do it again. You have 8 mana now. 8 mana if it's floating. Then you do it again. 3 life, 4 life, 5 life, 6 life, 7 life, 8 life, 9 life, 10 life. You pay 10 mana, tap, dismiss all things, tapping this artifact. Your opponent just lost 40 life. And you gained 40 life. So you doubled your life if you happen to have this. Let's assume that no one's done any damage yet. You happen to... But no one's done any damage. You have gained 40 life, and you've lost 40 life. No, your opponent has lost 40 life. They've lost the game. You've gained 40 life. So just to point out, this card is absolutely ridiculous. Now, granted, if you only have 1 life, you lost. But but you can kill yourself if you want to. All right, so I'll pay 1 life, tap my lands, pay life. But as soon as this card's out, you've won the game, basically. This card is so broken, and if I were to predict how much this card was, Nicol Bolas, let's just say what's not Nicol Bolas? No, Mana Crypt is about $20 now, or is that version of it? I would say this card is probably 50 times that. 50 times the amount. So we're looking at 50 times 5 times 2 is probably at least $100, maybe even more if this card was actually a card. This card would be absolutely insane. I originally actually, I would tell you this. I originally was going to make this a uncommon. You might see where there's a problem with that, right? I think I went back and edited it and was like, yeah. Lands, here's the thing. The one thing was that I thought was going to, if we just got rid of this ability, if you only have a few life points, then you can't use this. But guess what? It lands don't untap. So there is a negative effect for this. So lands you don't control, lands you control, you use to pay for this don't untap. So you still are hurting your opponent. You're still gaining life for it. But so if you don't even have to pay in lands. But this card itself is absolutely broken. Dying Artifact Dragon. Oh gosh. So the first problem, it's a 1905 creature with flash and death touch, flying, double strike, and miss. And each opponent can only cast instants or can't cast instants or does to pay one more. Well, the thing is, it does cost 12. That is the thing. But it does have double strike, flying. It does double strike, flying, menace, and death touch. So I mean, you've got a huge effect. It's really difficult to play it, and it could potentially be a very ridiculously hard to play commander. It's already hard enough to play if it dies. Next card. Artifact. Okay, this is the one that the cat creates. The cat creates those. Artifact. Cat attack. Destroy all artifact permanents unless it has a cat subtext. There are a few cats in this. We're going to see a few more. If it has a cat subtext, it doesn't get destroyed. But it destroys all artifact permanents. So if you're playing against someone who has an artifact deck as well, that's not cats related, then you do it. Then you get to destroy all their permanents, and you have cats. Fire Orb. Colorless. Again, I think because cards, I think that this is still technically colorless. Because land themselves are colorless. So I'm gonna say that even that this card would be devoided otherwise. You add a red or you add a colorless to your mana pool. And spells you cost one less if you lost life this turn. Next one we got is Forced Exchange. Oh, this is where you use the exchange here. So here's what you do. At the end of your turn, gain control of all creatures your target opponent controls, and all that player gains all control of creatures you control. End of next turn. Emphasize, next turn. Not this turn, next turn. This is where you would want to use cards that would hurt your opponent. Like, oh, you have to sacrifice creatures. If a creature you control dies, you create an 8. That means whatever you control. Yes. And if a creature you don't control dies, then you get a 0/1 flying creature instead, or your opponent controls. Then you get 0/1. Then create a 0/1 artifact token as well. This card would be very weird and very ridiculous if you can get the exchange to work. It's until the end of turn. This is why you would want to use those cards that were hurtful to your opponent if they have them, because they have the units. They can't sacrifice most of those cards on their own. Artifact field. It's an artifact land, so it's not a basic land. You can tap it. You can target artifact becomes a 5/5 artifact creature until end turn, or you can add 1 colorless. That's it. Next one we got here is next one, Treasure Code. This is actually a real card. I think a real card. You can pay 2 treasure token, which means you can pay for stuff without doing specific stuff. That is the one weakness in this deck, is that you can't just pay for stuff in it. With these things you can, at 1 mana of any color. Or you can add 1 mana of any color. Yeah. King of Cats. Oh, this is another rich. This is a possibly card that you could use as a commander. If you didn't want your commander just destroyed, and that's cat. It's a legendary cat. Subtext that other cats get +1/+1. When an artifact leaves the battlefield, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, by the way, if my cards do die whenever our artifact leaves the battlefield, it's not your. It doesn't have to be yours. You get to return an artifact to your hand, and hopefully you have no maximum hand size, because Master 1. Okay, these are actually ridiculous cards, I believe. Master 1 it costs 6. Hexproof. At the end of your turn, you mill 3 cards. You may play lands from your graveyards for free. This is actually not a very good card. So why it's a 1/1 and it's hexproof. At the end of your turn, you mill 3 cards, and you can pay 1 of the cards for your graveyard for 3. Now you can't do anything your next turn, but still, it's not a good commander. Closed artifact. Okay, I gotta read this card, because this once each turn, you may pay 2, then place a card on your opponent's retreat under closed artifact. You may cast it this turn for its converted mana cost. Basically, your opponent loses control of a card until end of turn. But you gain control of the card if you pay 2. If you pay 2 plus whatever the amount is. And if you don't, then it goes back over to your opponent, and you have to pay 2 life. So it's good and bad. It's a good and bad effects. Next card. Let's see what we've got here. Open artifact. Oh no. Your artifacts and lands have add 1 mana of any color, and you can pay 3 to add 5. Yeah, and a gem effect as well. Master of Artifacts. Oh god. You can create an artifact that the cat creates as well. Create a copy of this card. It's not legendary. Ah! So you got a 7/7 creature that's copied. That can create more artifacts and make spells cost 1 less. Potentially good commander. I don't know. Master 2. Oh, Shapeshifter's a new card effect I made. Shapeshifters. So cards that have Shapeshifter can become a card type of any type until at the start of the turn. So basically, they're any type. They're creatures, officially when they enter. Whenever it's a creature, enchantment, or artifact, it's 3/3 and has vigilance and hexproof. Otherwise, it is place a 1/1 counter. You can tap it to place a 1/1 counter on target artifact that has hexproof. It's a weird card. I still gotta figure out how that one works. Unite as one. Return 3 artifacts to your hand. You may exile this card from your graveyard and then use its final effect, which is return 3 artifacts to the battlefield. Up 3 artifacts to the battlefield. I mistriggered this. I believe it should be like you can return 3 artifacts to your battlefield instead. It'd be from your graveyard as well. So you can return 3 of them to your hand. Then you can also return 3 to the battlefield. It's not exiled, by the way. So Unite as one is huge. Master Dragon is devoided. You can pay 1 to add 5. It has 2 prowess or double prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It's flying, trample, and vigilance. You see any problems with this card? It's already a 10/7 creature with trample, flying, and vigilance. If you cast a non-creature spell, it's already +2/+2, and it's ridiculous. I made this off of Possible Commander. So that is all of the artifact spells in this. You can tell me what you guys think about the possible deck. Do you think it's going to work? Think it's not going to work? Or yes. I do plan to get this sometime this year. It's January 3rd. It's January 7th right now. 23. Probably during the summer, and I want to try this deck out. I'm going to see if I can figure out if I have to put the current cards. I'm pretty sure artifact cards are required. I'm pretty sure those current cards, I can remove them and do the same thing, or figure out something else. So thank you guys for watching this. If you are, I will be doing another stream at 2:30 today, which will be Wizard 101. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and don't forget to keep game on, and I'll see you in the next video.